Hi everyone, I'm Shelly from There's No Place Like Home at redheadmom8.wordpress.com. Today I'm going to be bringing you my math installment of my Unschooling 101 series. And I know that math is one of those things that can be really, really scary to leap into the unschooling journey with. And yeah, I am one of those people. Math was one of those things that I really, really had a hard time accepting the fact that my kids were going to be able to learn enough through unschooling, through life, to get them through school. But the fact is that even though I feel that way, that does not mean that that is actually the case. Truth be told, there is plenty of math in the real world setting for kids to learn what they need to know when they become adults. Okay, because I think that a lot of us have this mentality of math is done a certain way, and you know what? It's like that with a lot of subjects, but for some reason, math really scares a lot of us. There are a lot of us who have an aversion to math. Some of us who just are really iffy about teaching it different ways. And so I think that a lot of times when we are looking at math, we are looking at it in ways that are going to get kids up into college. And the thing is that even though there are some higher level maths that are harder to teach in an unschooling setting, it does not mean that it is impossible. And I also really want to point out to you that a lot of unschoolers who do not do math, who do not do a formal math curriculum, when they get to the point where they are old enough and have decided that yes, they would like to attend college, do you know what they do? They find out what it is that they need in order to get into the colleges that they're interested in, and they set out to finding out how to do those subjects and to getting those credits that they need. And you know, that's really one of the major differences between kids who are told that they have to do these higher level maths and kids who decide that they want to do them because they need them in order to suit a purpose that they have for themselves. You know, so you have one group of students who might not be so enthusiastic about it and who might have a harder time understanding it because they honestly just don't want to be doing it. Whereas those other students who have actually chosen it for themselves and have a reason for it are likely to be more enthusiastic and are more likely to be able to get a better handle on it. So anyway, with that being said, yes, math can be accomplished in everyday life, and today I'm going to bring to you some of the ways that this can be done. And just as in the language arts video, what I'm going to say is that there are two ways. There are probably more that you can think of, but I can think of two ways that you can use the things that I'm bringing to you today. You can either choose to incorporate them into your homeschool routine to kind of just mix things up a bit, maybe make things a little bit more interesting, break the monotony of your homeschool day by bringing in some more fun or life-based math activities rather than having your kids sit through a curriculum every single day. And I would just caution you again that if you decide to do this, that is great and it's going to bring fun into your homeschool, but I wouldn't go overboard with it. You know, the whole key to relaxed homeschooling is not going overboard. So yes, by all means, incorporate these methods, but don't get demanding about it and don't start treating them as if they are a math curriculum that must be accomplished. So just be careful with that. The other way that you can actually use the things that I'm going to talk about today is to help you as the parent to realize that even when you are not doing a structured homeschool day with your kids, they are still learning. Whether it is learning through, playing or learning through games or learning through interacting with people. Rest assured that your kids are picking things up and they are gaining new knowledge even without you, the parent, trying to do it. So when those days happen where life gets in the way or something happens that your plans are foiled for the day, I just want you to keep in mind that that does not mean that it is just a day that you cannot even count as being school. And there's no such thing to me as a day that is not a homeschool day, because kids really are learning all the time. So anyway, now let's just get into some of those ways that math can happen in an unschooling atmosphere, in a life learning atmosphere, that some of these ways you might have thought of already, and some of these ways might be new to you. So the first way, I'm just going to get the elephant or address the elephant in the room right away. Games. There's just gaming is a huge thing in the 21st century. And I've got a love-hate relationship with it. My kids and even my husband are avid gamers. But the fact is that I have seen that my younger children do not do so well when they are allowed to be doing these games throughout the week. We tend to do it only on the weekends. That's our tech time. But there are a lot of people who do allow their children to do these games at any time. And they are so valuable. Even if you're talking about games like Minecraft and Roblox and even like World of Warcraft. Now, I don't know a whole lot of games out there, but just those 3 games that I've spoken of right now, these games, they have inventory, where these kids have to keep track of the items that they have. That is numbering. That is figuring things out, knowing what it is that they need. There are auction houses. I know in World of Warcraft, because that's what my husband likes to play. There are auction houses where they will actually bid on objects, or they will set prices for the objects that they would like to sell. That is math being incorporated into something that they are choosing to do on their own. There are stores, like Roblox has stores. You can actually get Robux and you can buy things in the stores for the games. That is also incorporating math. And my kids are sitting behind the camera right now and they're all saying, yes, yes, because they know that I mentioned to you that I only really let them go on their games on the weekend. They're probably hoping that I'm going to let them do it any time now, but yeah, we'll talk about that. But anyway, keeping score obviously is another thing in games that they're always going to be keeping an eye on. And you know what? In Minecraft, you've got geometry. Needing to know how many blocks you need in order to build the structure that you want. How many you need up and down. How many you need lengthwise. How many you need widthwise. You've got to be able to work some basic geometry, if not more advanced levels of geometry in order to be able to do those sorts of things. So even though there are parents like me who have a bit of an aversion to kids gaming all the time, there really, really is so much educational content in them that you really do need to consider. So now moving on from electronic games are board games. And some of these games are quite obvious, like Monopoly and Yahtzee. But even games like Parcheesi, if you look at a game like that, you might think, okay, well, that can cover math for, a younger child, but all it really basically is counting. But is it now? Because if you think about it, I don't know if you've ever played Parcheesi. I play that with my 16-year-old all the time. It's her favorite board game, and we play it all the time. And it actually teaches you strategy. You have to be able to figure out what you need to move when, what are your best chances of getting to home from this area, what is the probability of them, rolling the dice and getting your character out. So those are some other ways, just in a game like Parcheesi, that you might not necessarily have thought of as a math game. But yes, there is math involved, math that you often don't even seem to notice. And of course, some other games, not necessarily board games, but card games. There are games like War, Go Fish, Rummy, Crazy Eights. And when I was a kid, my friend and I, we used to play a game. We called it Card Shark. There was actually, for those of you who are older, like I am, you might remember back in the 80s, I think it was, there was a game show on TV called Card Shark. And there would be one card pulled over or turned over, and then the contestant would have to say whether the card was higher or lower, and then they would just go down a whole line of cards to see if they could get to the end of the cards. So my friend and I used to play that. So that's actually a great game for younger children who are learning their numbers. If they get an 8, tell them, do you think the next card is going to be higher or lower? And then they flip it over, and then they can tell you if they're right or not. So card games are a great way to incorporate math without actually even making the effort of saying, oh, I need to get some math in today. Because these are fun things for your kids to do. And these are fun things for you to do with your kids. Uno, too. I just thought of that one. Uno is another one that is a great thing, especially for kids who are younger and are also learning, just about sorting and categorizing because of all the colors in there. Okay, so moving on from the games, another way that math can be completed in your home without even making an extra effort is in your household duties, your everyday household duties. Cooking and baking are my favorite way to get math in with my kids without having to have them pull out, my glasses keep falling down, I have to have them adjusted, but anyway, without having to have them pull out their curriculums. Because do you realize how much math there is, especially in baking? I'm really going to focus on baking right now because with the weather changing, we've been doing a lot of that lately, and I've realized myself how much math these kids are learning while they're doing it. Because, for example, we made a pound cake yesterday, and I could not find my 1 cup measuring cup. I couldn't find my 1/2 cup measuring cup. I have no idea where they are. I think I have a black hole in my house somewhere. Anyway, so all I could find was my 1/4 cup measuring cup. So when we put the flour in, I said, okay, we need 3 cups of flour, and I've only got this 1/4 cup measuring cup. How many of these do I need for 1 cup of flour? Well, we need 4. Okay, so how many are we going to need for 3 cups of flour? What's 4 times 3? 12. So right there, they're figuring it out. And, also just figuring out other basic things. Just saying, we're going to be doubling this recipe today. This recipe calls for 2 tablespoons of oil. But since we're doubling it, we're going to be using how many tablespoons? 4 tablespoons of oil. And you know what 4 tablespoons of oil is equal to? 1/4 cup of oil. So again, you've just got all of these equivalencies, all of these fractions. You can double things, you can triple recipes, you can have them if you need to. But it is an excellent and fun way, and also a very much needed way to work math into your home, because you all need to eat, don't you? Okay, so then another thing is telling time. And, I have met a lot of adults nowadays who don't know how to tell analog time anymore. And to be honest, we do not even have an analog clock in our house. My kids are learning analog time through their math notebooks. But if you would like your kids to learn how to tell analog time in Unschooling or in a real life setting, just get a regular analog clock. I know that a lot of people say to make a paper plate clock, which I have done with my kids. But an even better way, in my opinion, is just to get a real analog clock and to occasionally ask your kids, what time is it? And then if they have a hard time, you can walk over to the clock and just go over it with them. Tell them how to do it. I even ask my 5-year-old all the time. Even when she was 2, I was asking her, Kenzie, what time is it? And then she would run out and she would look on the microwave clock to see what time it is. And she would come back and she would tell me. And you can also work things in like, okay, it's 1:15 now and Dad's going to be home at 2 o'clock. How much longer do we have to clean up before he gets home? They can figure out you've got 45 minutes to clean up before he gets home. And see, all of these things are just painless, natural ways to work these learning experiences, incorporating math into your home. And I think that it's not that I don't think people are doing these things already with their kids. It's just that I don't think that you realize that these things are having an impact on your kids. These things are showing your children how math works in the real world. So yes, keep doing that. And even when it comes to money, the best way for kids to learn how to count money is by letting them count real money. And yeah, my kids have already done the money worksheets in their workbooks. But of course, what child wouldn't be more motivated to count their own money, even if it's pennies, if it's something that they have right in front of them? And then after they have counted that money, you could take them to the candy store. Or if you don't buy your kids candy, you could take them maybe to buy a drink. And you could have them pay the cashier, and then they could figure out how much change they should get back. You could also take them to the store with you, whether it's to the grocery store where they can weigh fruits and vegetables. They can even see how much they are. Say if grapes are $3.99 a pound and you're getting 4 pounds, how much are those grapes going to cost? They could also learn about unit prices there and price comparison, also about budgeting. One of the things that my kids know when I'm shopping is that I very, very, very often have to count in my head as I am shopping to make sure that I have enough money with me. And so that is a great way for your kids to learn how to round off and how to keep a running tally of how much money you're spending. So definitely, include your kids as you are doing these sorts of things and let them see you doing these sorts of things so that they know that this isn't something that we just tell kids to do. This is something that we adults do because we have to do it. So it's definitely something that is important and it's worth learning. Another way that your kids can learn math, especially older children, is say if they're clothes shopping and something is 60% off, you could ask them to figure out how much 60% off of $20 is. And, just explain to them in a simple way how to do that, depending on how they learn. You could tell them, okay, well, that's 60 cents for every dollar. Or you could just tell them, can you do 20 times 0.6 in your head? Okay, now subtract that. Or 20 times 0.4. It doesn't matter how you're showing them, but if you actually explain to them how to figure these things out while you're out and about shopping, which is something that, a lot of people really do enjoy to do together. So work that in as you're doing this, and it's something that is going to help you because it can help you to decide whether or not you're going to buy something. Again, helpful math. Math does not always have to be boring, and it does not always have to be pointless. And you actually see this more in an unschooling atmosphere of math than you honestly will see in a math workbook, which so many of us fall back on just for security reasons. Let me see. Measuring things around the house. How many times have your kids wanted to help their dad as he was doing things around the house? My kids have already helped him to measure for when we would get new blinds to see what size blinds we needed, or when we got new carpeting in the dining room, how long it had to be and how wide it had to be. Measuring things is a fantastic way, again, for your kids to learn things. And if you really want to get into it, you could teach them how to measure it in inches and feet, or and centimeters and meters, and it really depends upon where you live in the world, but you could also work both ways and I especially encourage that for you to do that in the US, because in the US, we're one of the only people who actually use inches and feet. If you go anywhere else in the world, they're using centimeters and meters and kilometers. So that is actually a great skill for your kids to have, especially if they plan on doing any traveling or if they ever plan on moving somewhere else. So yes, and that actually goes right with miles, having them look at the odometer when you're leaving to go somewhere. And then when you get there, say, how many miles was that for us to get there? And again, you could incorporate kilometers into that too, unless you live somewhere that already incorporates kilometers. And you've got the advantage because, again, that's what most people use. We Americans always have to be different, don't we? Okay, and then another thing is just have your kids help you serve the meals. Have them help you divide it up. How many people are there in your family? Is anybody, not home tonight for dinner? Okay, well then now how many people is it? Well, how many pieces of this are we going to need? But the 5-year-old isn't going to need a piece as big as, say, the 14-year-old. What if we cut hers in half? And see, again, all of these ways you are incorporating math into your everyday life. Sorting laundry is a great way, especially for toddlers who are first learning how, about colors, and they're learning about how to sort things. And so sorting laundry, and you know what? Those toddlers, they love to help you around the house. They absolutely love it. So they're going to feel so important, and they're going to feel so big. If you say to them, hey, you know what? Can you help me sort the laundry today? And then if you explain to them, can you put all of the colors here and all of the whites here and everything that's black here, and or however it is that you sort your laundry, they of course will want to have a part in that. And then for your older kids, moving to the opposite side of the spectrum, your high school age kids, show them how to balance a checkbook. As you're figuring out your finances, bring them next to you so that they can help, or not help, but so that they can see how it is that you do it. Even if you want to have them help you with your monthly budgeting, how much has to go out in bills, what your monthly income is, how much you have left over, are you going to have enough, what's going to have to go. All of these things are things that kids who are that age really should be learning, and they're not going to be learning that in a textbook. And if they are, again, it's not really going to matter to them as much as if they're seeing how it is actually happening in reality. Okay, another way to incorporate math into real life is flashcards. Now, when I say flashcards, I don't mean buying flashcards and making your kids sit there and you just do them with them for 20 minutes at a time until they no longer want to do them. I'm saying buy flashcards, take them out of the box, and just maybe lay them on the table. and walk away. So many times my own kids have decided that they were going to pick up these cards and do them with one another or play school together. So, you know, my 12-year-old, she was teaching my 5-year-old how to add and subtract and even do fractions when they were playing school, and she was using these flashcards to incorporate them in. And you know, today someone who I actually go to church with, she used to be a teacher. She retired now, so she just gave me a bunch of math manipulatives and other resources today. And in them were just envelopes upon envelopes of flashcards. And of course, that was the first thing that my kids wanted, was those flashcards. I put them in our art cabinet, however, though, because I know that if I give them to my kids right now to go play with them, within, I'd say 2 hours, they're going to be scattered in somebody's bedroom. But yes, flashcards are something that are fun for kids to do, especially if you are leaving it, if you are strewing it around your house, if you are leaving it for your children to do, and you are not like forcing them to do them. Mazes are another huge, now not everybody would think of mazes as being mathematical. They are definitely mathematical because you've got that whole strategy in there. You've got that critical thinking going in there. And, you know, and you also have, you're also teaching your children resilience about trying again and again if they do not get where they're going the first try. So mazes are another great thing for you to have. Puzzles, of course, puzzles are a fantastic way for you to incorporate math into your homes. And also Legos, blocks, especially for younger kids, but you know, even older kids, I've seen them really create some really intricate things with Legos. So definitely don't think of them as being something that only 3-year-olds can play with and it counts as math. If these kids can build these awesome structures in Minecraft, very often that will rub off into everyday life, or I should say real life, and they will be wanting to build those sorts of things with actual physical blocks that they can touch. How about keeping track of your kids' height and weight? You know, keeping track of how many inches they are, how many feet and inches. Or if you go with centimeters and meters, what about, you know, how many centimeters tall are you? What about how many meters tall are you? How much taller are you this month than you were last month? Have them figure all of these things out. This can go with weight too. How much do you weigh? Did you gain weight? Did you lose weight? How much? And then this could actually be a great time to even, especially with weight for older kids, to help them learn how to average what their weight is over a certain time period. So averaging things out, it's a great way to incorporate that too. And also temperature, following the temperature with your kids. You know, the temperature went up how many degrees today? Then it went down how many? You know, just watching these temperature fluctuations, learning about Fahrenheit and Celsius, because again, most people use Celsius. We use Fahrenheit, but maybe working into it. Look on just a plain old-fashioned thermometer and see what the temperature is in Fahrenheit, and then look next to it to see what it is in Celsius. Learn those things. And you know what? I have to say that thermometers are a great way to teach negative numbers. You know, because one of my kids was having a really hard time with positive and negative numbers. And it never seemed to click for her unless I said to her, well, if it was 3 degrees outside and the temperature dropped 5 degrees, what temperature would it be now? And right away she would say -2 because she got it. Using thermometers are a fantastic way to not only introduce negative numbers, but to actually help them to understand how to use them better and to see that there really is, like, they're not just abstract. When it comes to things like temperature, the negative numbers actually mean something. So anyway, these are just some of the ideas that I've come up with on how you can work math into your life routine without having to just incorporate workbooks day after day after day. And again, I will tell you that there are many unschoolers who are brave enough to do this all the time. And kudos to them, because it is just, honestly, it is just the remnants of my type A personality that are keeping me from completely embracing this whole philosophy, because I have seen how it works. I have actually seen it in real life. So if I could ever let go myself of that whole wanting to control things every now and then, I probably would be doing all of our work just like this. And you know what? Maybe you yourself are going to see the benefits from it, just from what I've talked about. And I really encourage you just to try it. Just try it. And even if you don't fully go into, an unschooling style of learning in your home, if you incorporate these sorts of things into your house, your kids are getting the best of both worlds then. So anyway, next week I am going to be talking about unschooling science. So I hope that you will join me next week. If you like this video, you can give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet and would like to hear more of what I have to say, I would love if you would do that. And if you have any questions or comments, you can leave one down below. And if you like my work, I would encourage you to check out my Patreon page and see what rewards I have for my patrons there. And I hope you have a great day.